And he's got a little round piece over there with a little bitty hammer, and he's pounding it out like so. Welcome back to the channel, Grand Columbia, and welcome to another Coffee Time Live from here in Armenia, Colombia. Here is Dan. He has joined me again today, and he won't get to talk for a little bit because I got things to go over. But let me know if you have any sound problems, if you any kind of issues, let me know in the chat. I would appreciate it. we keep trying to stay on top of it. It's been pretty good lately. Let's see. All right. First of all, sound and video good. Awesome. 77 degrees, maybe 76. We're going to have a high today, probably of 80 degrees. I've noticed the weather changed 3 times from 6 o'clock this morning. So I'm not sure how that's going to go. We had one little spot of rain at 3 o'clock, and now it's talking about throughout the afternoon. Wouldn't surprise me. High of 80, low of 64. The Colombian peso is currently at 43.43. Down from 44, what did it get up to? 44.15 or something like that?
Just a little over 40.
Still good. Still awesome. All right. Let's look outside at the outside cam. Here we go. Much clearer, brighter than it has been. Now, around 7 o'clock this morning, I was looking at that, and it was amazingly bright and clear. You see some clouds have moved in. Let me move up a little. Yeah, those clouds weren't there earlier this morning, but we still have a lot of blue sky. So that's very cool.
It was sunny when I started my way over here, and then it got cloudy as I arrived.
Yeah, I think the latest is we're going to get some rain around 1 or 2 o'clock. There's the road to Pereira. That red bus there, that's I have the turnaround. I'm the last building in Armenia in the north. And so all the buses that come up here turn around right in front of my building. So that's pretty cool. If I rode buses. There you go. There's another one. We're lining up for a drag race. Maybe we'll see an accident. Okay. Enough of that. All right. So let's take a look at the chat. Greetings from Finland, Jukka. As always, Jukka, I thank you very much. Everything you do, I appreciate it. Good morning, all. Pueblo 22. That's Mike. Okay, I remembered it.
Yeah.
Good morning, Mike. Mike Jarvis.
Hi, Mike.
Dr. Charles, hola from Monteria, Cordoba. Good morning from sunny Socorro, Santander, Colombia. That's Turtle. And Turtle is looking at places in Manizales and here in Pereira. Moving again. I thought a lot about you because it's something I'm going to talk about this afternoon, actually, in Cuenca and social media. And I remember some of the things back when you were there and I was there, and some of the toxicity that was running around. I'm going to talk about it a little bit later. Chad, how you doing, Chad? Good morning from Austin. Did you say April you're headed out? Rob, good morning from Fort Lauderdale. 108 days. You are getting short. That's less than 4 months, right? Pretty awesome. Libby, how you doing, Libby? Good morning to all. Libby, you're in the USA right now, I believe. She goes back and forth.
She was a couple of weeks ago.
Cuenca and let's see, over on the YouTube, which apparently it did log in. Got Hugo, good morning from South Carolina. Robert Hernandez, hello from Santa Ana, California. Nice area. I used to live in Tustin, right next to Santa Ana. Not the time to live there now. That's just south of LA.
Well, air quality problem.
Libby, yes, Florida. Yeah. They're saying that they've got evacuation because of air quality from surrounding areas. Okay. We got a stronger attendance on Rumble, and we got less than usual on YouTube, and that's a good thing. One of these days, Alice, to the moon. All right. So I want to talk about, first of all, Sharik Cafe, mi amiga, is here creating disasters for me. She threw a bunch of soap down on the floor when I had to walk out there.
And when I arrived,
Yeah. Yeah. Whoop. You end up with a broken hip. That's what happens to old people, right? You get broken hips. So anyway, she was telling me about a project and she wanted me to talk about it here. It's a project that's already begun and it's not really about, my video or my clients, or clientele, but she thought that I should bring it up because somebody might want to help. There's a situation out in Cauca, out in the countryside. She has to go out there all the time because of the coffee business that she's doing there. Hello from upstate New York. Howdy, my old stomping grounds. Hoping to have VA claims settled by the end of January. Nice. So anyway, she has to go out there all the time because of coffee. Her coffee is all from Cauca, whereas mine's all from Quindio. And out there, you saw for Christmas, there was about 100 kids and they had games and they ended up giving away 2 or 3 presents to each and every kid. Well, there's more to the story. These kids are actually all from an area that's about as poor as it gets in Colombia. There's a cycle of poverty there. The parents, on average, in that area earn about 500,000 pesos a month. That's a little over $100 a month for the entire family. If they don't, I was telling you, if they don't raise chickens and if they don't grow food, they don't eat, kind of thing. It's extremely poor. All right, well, that happens and they get by and they're happy, but they have no education. Therefore, they have no opportunity because there's a thing here in Colombia where education is valued, and even getting some basic jobs, you've got to at least have a high school, if not a university diploma. Well, most of these people never even finished high school, again, because of the area. Well, now the current age children are at risk of falling into that same cycle. And here's why. There was a school, an old school, that the kids were attending, what do you call it, grade school. Another name for it here, but
primary school.
Primary, yeah. So the kids were attending it, and they were getting an education there. And then once they got up to the level, then they could go into the nearest town, which is an hour away. Except it was an older building that I believe it was donated. And anyway, the roof started leaking in all the rooms. They would say it rains here a lot. And the kids would sit there and get rained on. A lot of things fell into disrepair. The toilet quit working. A couple windows got broken out, turned into a trash heap. I've got a short video here I will show you of this school.
Bienvenidos a nuestra escuelita Nuevo Carbonero. Aquí les mostramos toda nuestra infraestructura y cuáles son los daños más importantes a arreglar. Esta es nuestra infraestructura principal, la cual contiene 2 salones como están viendo, la cual está en pésimas condiciones principalmente por el techo que ingresa mucha humedad. También nos vamos a observar las paredes absorben demasiada humedad y están oxidadas las ventanas y puertas. También ahí mismo está el restaurante de los niños, el cual tiene materiales, por lo cual en los mensajes se explica el por qué. Al frente está la cocina, aquí está la comunidad tratando de ayudar y rehabilitar este lugar para nuestros niños. Los niños en estos momentos se encuentran en la sede principal para evitar riesgos, pero muchos niños han desertado de la educación porque no tienen la economía para transportarse hasta la sede principal, ya que esta es la única escuela de la vereda.
So it's kind of a mess. All the desks there used to be desks there, and apparently they all got taken and sold, or there's a couple doors you can see are missing. And so it really needs to be put back together. Currently, well, it's been out of commission for a year. And so what happened at the beginning of this last school year, the group of kids that were going there attempted to walk to the nearest city because there's no good way for them to go. Even if they ran buses, the parents don't have the money for it. I mean, they don't have money. So they were walking in a group. The problem was that for their level of grades, the classes were only in the afternoon. And it's a long walk. It's at least an hour walk each way. So what would happen is coming home, they would arrive home in the dark. This is not a very safe area, particularly as it gets dark. This is an area where if you're 14 years old and above, there's a good chance you're going to get kidnapped and put into service in the criminal gangs down there. There's issues there. And it's groups like what she's involved in. They're trying to clean all of this up, and they're trying to provide opportunities. And so the kids actually, eventually, they all just faded away. They quit going. It just wasn't worth it. And so they've already missed almost a year of schooling. So they're trying to put this together. They've got a large company. I won't even attempt to say the name, but they were sponsorship of that Christmas thing. They're also sponsoring some of the repairs. And they're going to different local businesses, and they're trying to, drum up whatever they can get out of them. So she wanted me to mention it, and there's a couple things that they sent me. I will show this. Okay, the campaign's called Building Dreams. The Guayacanes Aqueduct, that's the main company that's involved, is leading the campaign to benefit 80 children from the Nuevo Carbonero village in Santander. Our goal is to improve the infrastructure of the local school, which is the only educational option for these children due to the distance and lack of economic resources of their family. Need for the school. I'll skip some words here. The community faces great economic social challenges. Parents earn less than $500,000 a month. I mentioned all that. Beneficiaries. The school will not only benefit the children of the village, but also the children of the rural area around that little village. It's important to highlight that this school is an opportunity for children in these communities to access education, improve their quality of life. Okay, we get all that. Here's the list of what they're trying to put together. And they've already started. They already have some of this stuff taken care of. This is in Spanish. First one is 80 desks at 300,000 each. That's 24 million pesos. That's a big one. I put it in English. That's a breakdown. The roof is about 5 million pesos, so it's a little over $1,000 for the new roof. This is all materials. Almost all of the labor has been donated. 2 bathrooms, paint. When they say 2 buckets of paint, they're talking about the 5-gallon. I believe they're 5-gallon buckets. Preschool tables, 6 tables to work off of. Kitchen utensils. There's a kitchen there. Traditionally, in these country places, the teachers will go back and actually prepare a lunch. So the total, they have a breakdown, but the total amount that they're trying to raise, and like I say, some of it's already done, is 38 million pesos, which is almost $9,000. So that's what they're trying to drum up. Got a photo when she was out there. She snapped a picture. The lady on the left is her mom. The guy on the right is a contractor, and the other two to the right, they're just free labor. So if you're interested at all, I will put up the PayPal address. They don't have one separate for it. They don't do GoFundMes and stuff here. And I don't know if they even know about it. But this is the Sharik Coffee one. So if you're interested in donating to this school, feel free. if there was any way you could even send money to the place, you could actually contact her. She was a little nervous about getting money. I said, well, with people, particularly from the U.S., if they don't send you money, they can't go to the store, to like a chain here in Quindio and apply a credit for there. There's no way to make that happen. But if you have any way contributing directly to the store where they're selling the building materials and stuff like that, it's perfectly fine. Also, if you contribute, they have a WhatsApp group that they've already set up. And what they're doing is, as they achieve certain things, they're posting the photos of those completions up there to account for it. Because, well, we're all a bunch of wealthy North Americans. The people that are involved in this got it started, they're not. And a lot of these people, it's like a lot of people live on the edge in Cauca, but it's such a crucial thing for them. They're still contributing. So put the link in chat. I don't have a way to do that right now. If you email me, I can send it to you. Maybe, but it's real simple. You just
maybe somebody can copy it and put it into the chat.
Yeah, somebody maybe could do that. But you just go to PayPal and it's in Should Eat Cafe. So it's at Should Eat Cafe, one word. My family and I are planning to move to Manizales this coming July. We start selling and donating some things, but I don't see any progress. Could you share some tips to prepare for the big move? Yeah, but that'll have to be later in this video.
I'll tell you how important this is. In other Central American countries, I've run into lots of people who cannot read. And Colombia has a fairly high literacy rate compared to other Central and South American countries. But this is how people fall through the cracks. If it's too challenging for them to get a grade school education and their parents are not educated, there's just a tendency to let it slide and use the kids' labor at home instead. And that would be disastrous for these people as individuals. So it's really important that they have access to basic schooling so that at least they can learn to read. They can learn more once they know how to read, but it's crucial.
I saw that a lot in Ecuador. Actually, I was involved. I became an officer of a foundation there that were trying to get kids back into school. Yeah, it's a huge problem in Ecuador and other countries in South America. In Colombia, you don't really find it except in certain areas, and those areas tend to be where the criminals are, where the criminal groups. And later, I've got a news item. I'll put up a map so you guys can see the general area of where these groups are concentrated. But the worst one, this is right smack in the very worst one that actually has its own government and controls that entire department.
And they're vulnerable to being recruited by the gangs if they have no other future in sight.
Nice. YouTube does not allow viewers to post web links in chat. Yeah, what you can do is just leave off the HTTPS and the www and put a dash instead of the backslash, and people can use that. Any tips regarding logistics before move? Yeah, actually, I've got a couple videos, and I did a series about preparation for moving, which included a lot of things about moving. I did that series about a year or so ago. All right. But again, when we get through the bulk of our information, we get to Q&A, ask away. Oh, there we go. If you're in, thank you, Owen. If you're in Rumble, that link is in chat. They tried to put it in YouTube and they weren't able to. But again, maybe you can, turn it into something cryptic. All right. So I think we covered all of that. Couple news items. Do you bowl?
Not in a long time.
Yeah, me too. It's a big thing here, and it's becoming bigger. And this surprised me. Here's an article. National Bowling Calendar for 2025, a season that promises excitement in Armenia. Now, why in Armenia? We have a number of very high quality bowling alleys. There's one out near the airport. On the right, as you just before you get to the golf place, it looks like almost like the entrance of an amusement park kind of thing. They've got bowling alleys there. We've got Bolo, which is right across the street from Parque Fundadores. It's got excellent. It's got as nice a bowling alleys as I've ever seen. But here's what they're talking about in Armenia. There are 8 championships or semi-championships taking place in Colombia in 2025. And the reason there's 8, you've got like young age, you've got over the hill age, like over 65, you got the meat of it, so it's broken up. 3 of those will take place in Armenia. 3 of them will take place in Medellin, and 2 of them will be in Cali, in all of Colombia. So it's pretty astounding.
Yeah.
That Armenia beats out Bogota, Bucaramanga, and Cartagena, and all of that. But the best bowling culture is considered to be in Armenia. Early on, they had bowling alleys, and people have gotten into it. And some of the best bowlers in the country are from Armenia. Therefore, they're going to be doing some of the things here. And apparently, they've got a lot of young people, like 10, 12, 14, in huge groups here in Armenia that have gotten into bowling. It's something that's really taken off. And so that's pretty cool.
My dad's mother was in a bowling league, and she bowled a perfect game and had a trophy for it. And for people who are really into any sport, that's kind of like a lifetime achievement. It's
I never did it.
Well, I was lucky if I could break 130. So
I went through 5 or 6 years where I bowled quite often, sometimes like constant. And I don't remember my highest score, but I believe it was somewhere around 260.
Oh, well, that's serious.
But my bowling, typically, once I got to a certain place, I kind of got stuck mostly around 200. But I was pretty pleased with that because a lot of people that I bowled with, I was beating them.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think I ever bowled 200. So
that's where I mostly was. Now, the last time I went bowling, might even been in Ecuador. There was a bowling alley in Cuenca. I did a video on that too. I do a video on everything I ever talk about. It's in a video somewhere. But I think I might not have gotten over like 120 or something. I remember the last time I bowled, it was pathetic. It was so bad. All right, next news item. Again, won't affect most people, but it affects me. The tolls have gone up, but the interesting thing, I guess, the most expensive in all of Colombia happens to be between Armenia and Pereira. That toll that's there, it's the most expensive toll, and it's now over 20,000 pesos for a car or SUV. It was only a few years ago, it was about 12,000. Which, by the way, the official numbers have come out for inflation for 2024, and it's 5.2%. And so the rent increase will be somewhere around there as an allowable. So if you already have a place, you decide to stay, they can't exceed that percentage in your rent. So it's actually going to keep it relatively small. So I'm real happy about that. I want to move, but the hassle of moving, I'm kind of leaning towards I'll probably just stay here another year.
Yeah.
But the area has grown up so much just in this last year. I mean, when Sharik was here before and now, there's like 5 or 6 businesses that didn't exist then that are here now. 2 of them are actually buildings that didn't exist. So, I mean, things are just exploding here. So maybe it won't be so bad. All right. To those who are marijuana obsessed, 2 women arrested in Quindio are transporting nearly 30 kilos of marijuana on public buses. So this is pretty cool too. In December, a whole bunch of police, national police, were assigned to Quindio for a number of reasons. They're trying to make sure that Quindio is squeaky clean, which brings me to the next headline. As far as any kind of criminal groups, any kind of organized crime, any kind of FARC dissidents or whatever. But also they expected a lot of tourists, despite the fact, you remember the news article that put our Quindio way down on the list where it's always been number 1 or 2?
Yeah.
And everybody was outraged. Well, despite that, they expected a lot of people, and it was record breaking. They had more people flying into the airport than ever before. They had more people, foreigners. They had about 10,000 foreigners fly into the Armenia airport in December, which is pretty damn good considering Copa quit operating temporarily. It will be back, but so there was only 1 or 2, I think 1 airline that actually was flying in. They had over 10,000 foreigners. They had over 500,000 cars cross into Armenia from God knows where. There's cameras. People may not notice, but it's a little more modern than people realize. So they had a massive turnout, and will probably end up being number 1 this year. So we had all these extra police. Well, part of what they did was road checks. I got caught in one. I talked about it. The guy was real nice. He was friendly and wished me a Merry Christmas. Got excited when he thought that my little toolkit was a gun case because it looked just like a gun case. And he was pretty excited. You could see he got nervous. He did one of these, and I laughed and I opened it up and it was full of wrenches and stuff. And he came back to me and he shook my hand. And anyway, so we had these road checks all over the place. Well, they were stopping the buses. Both of these buses, one was on the 9th and one was on the 10th, so just a couple days ago. So they're in the big bus headed to Bogota or Ibagué or wherever. I think they're both ultimately going to end up in Bogota. And woman's on the bus, police come, and they got their dogs and stuff, and they do a check on the bus. They always on the bus they'll look to see a wanted list. Is there anybody here that's on a wanted list? Me, It's like, they always just, when I offer my ID on those checks, they always just smile and just, no, you obviously are not. But so on the 9th, they found this woman had a suitcase down in the carrier with 15 kilograms, whatever, 20, 30 pounds, I don't know, of weed. And so they arrested her. So I get messed. Is weed legal there? No. There are a couple small exceptions. Your use only used in where you live kind of thing. I've never looked into it because I quit smoking weed a million years ago. Smoked weed for 15 years and then eventually realized I wasted 15 years, So I'm not into it. but it's very restrictive. You'll find far more liberal states in the United States than here, and you have people coming here with just some impression. Well, I heard it was legal. Well, this might be legal, but what you have in the pocket could put you in jail, so you have to be very careful of that. And if you're carrying something, it can be easily construed that you were planning to sell it, even if you weren't planning to sell it. It's they don't smile and just give it a pass. Yemi, good to see you. Nice to see you in the chat. How you doing? What a wonderful man and his family. They came here and we had a lot of fun. They did everything. They did the sky, the what do you call them? The paragliding,
paragliding and zip lining,
and all kinds of
they
stuff.
had a lifetime experience.
Yeah, and he wanted to go to the hot springs, but he didn't want to go to the normal one. He wanted to go to the one that's farthest away, and I think he meant the one behind the normal one, but the farthest away. There's sort of a road that gets there, but it's not exactly a road.
Somebody's been through there before.
Yeah. It took forever. It seemed like we took 3 days to get there. It took forever, and out of there, it's you had to be really careful. I got some videos of that, but the worst areas, I don't think I took any videos because I'm trying to drive.
Yeah.
And it was, it needed a lot of attention. But we had a great time, horseback riding, all kinds of stuff. Mm-hmm. They fell in love with the place, which was surprising. His wife was very not so sure. And by the time we're getting towards the end, she was telling me, can't wait to come back. She was talking about she's going to bring a group of her women friends here. And
she had trepidations about Colombia.
Just in general, why?
Yeah.
Why? Of all the places we could go, why there? He'd been watching the video. He really wanted to come and see what was going. He was excited about it.
Yeah.
And they're good. Their marriage is good. And she said, okay, but she thought, well, we're just going to go and do this, and that'll be the end of it. It wasn't the end of it. She was verbally telling me all these things that she's going to be doing, and
if I could find a better place to live, I'd move.
You helped me check off some of the bucket list items. Still reeling. Yeah. It's it was a lot in a few days. All right. So where was I? Oh, on the weed. We were talking about the weed. So caught her on the 10th. Same bus line. Same area. Same police road check. Caught another woman and popped her. There's a third one, but it wasn't included in this. So it was a third one that happened after that in a different area, but the exact same amount. And they're all wrapped the same way. They were all in a group of clear bags, but there was some kind of black plasticine thing that they were wrapped in. The police think they thought that would prevent dog smelling. But
so these poor ladies are just mules, basically.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe they are, maybe they're not. Maybe they're the wives. Who knows? But I'm gratified to see the police are actually out there doing their job, because the idea that people have from outside Colombia is that the police don't do anything. Police here are very active. They're very active. In Montenegro, they keep shutting down. These people keep coming in trying to infiltrate. And the neighborhood is very good about pointing them out. And they keep grabbing them and shutting them down. They pulled a high-ranking woman. This was about 4 or 5 months ago. A high-ranking woman that had been there for about 10 days from I believe it was the FARC. It could have been the ELN. But from an organized crime group, caught her trying to set up children to create a little crime ring and then put a toehold there. children because they have similar laws here about if you're underage kind of thing. And got caught right away. Police grabbed them, and they didn't worry about, do we have this? No, you're a criminal. You're going away.
I think the reason most foreigners think the police don't do much here is that the only brush with crime most foreigners have is getting their cell phone stolen. And I hate to tell you, your cell phone's not going to be recovered. That's just almost an impossible task. And if it's an iPhone, they've been tracked. There've been a number of situations where they've tracked iPhones. Doesn't matter where they're stolen, even in the United States, they track them back to China where they get taken apart and repurposed.
Nice.
So
I didn't know that, but I know about the cell phones. If there's any crime here, it's cell phones, but we don't see that in the North at all. And you can tell, just look at all the local girls that wear their midriff shirts, and they'll just have their cell phones stuck in their waistline of their pants, where anybody could walk up and grab it,
or even in a hip pocket and it's sticking out.
Yeah,
they don't worry about it.
They don't worry about it because nothing really happens. So you get in the South, well, actually in Central, particularly in the holiday time, you get pickpockets in there. I mean, you're going to get those in Belgium too, everywhere. Right. You have groups of touristy people, watch your pockets. When I go to Central, I don't carry my wallet in my back pocket. And if I don't need my wallet, I don't carry my wallet at all. But that's really the only place. I mean, up here, my wallet's in my back pocket, my cell phone's in my front pocket. I don't worry about it because I don't have any problems with it.
I carried a wallet for decades in the U.S. I just have a money clip here.
Man, look at you. You're loaded.
Mostly twos.
See? Here's my wallet. I got moth coming out of it.
They may chase you down and try to give it back to you.
Mine's all plastic. A few years ago, you couldn't do that. You couldn't live on plastic. Now, everybody everywhere will take a debit or a credit card or whatever. So I don't carry hardly any cash at all anymore. Even the local cafe, even if they don't have a credit card set up, they'll have that QR code thing. Mm-hmm. So you can scan a QR code and just send money directly to their bank account for the amount of the bill. That was a great thing because as soon as that came out, because those are free.
Right, and everybody has a phone.
Everybody has a phone. So if you have an account, everybody has the ability to pay even the smallest cafe. So it's very cool. All right, so much for the weed. Now let's get on with the more crime here. Quindio, 2024. It has been declared in 2024, which is why they brought in all these extra police and the military, territory free of organized armed groups. Now, the year before that, it was a similar announcement. Doesn't mean there's not crime here. And occasionally you'll hear where there'll be a startup local crime group where just a couple guys get together and decide to work together and bring in a couple more. Next thing you know, there's 5 or 6 of them. And they get stomped on.
They get busted.
It's even the ones that are just local homegrown that aren't affiliated with anything larger, they're not lasting either. But this is great news. I mean, she comes from Kauka to here, and it's like a different planet.
Right.
And she's still trying to adjust. And I don't want to talk to. She suffers PTSD. You can almost not
living in that
from the situation they're in. And one of the things, and the reason that she's been here for a while is when she's here, it's like the only time, day and night, she can relax and be calm.
Yeah.
So that's pretty awesome. And they're working very hard to make sure that Quindio, and it's not the only place in the country, but I live here, and so this is important to me. I love that they're so active about keeping it, the way it is. And I mentioned a map, so I quickly ran this up. These aren't really boundaries, but if you notice the red circle in the top right, that's the border of Venezuela. It will go, there's a little city at the bottom of that oblong circle, that's Cucuta. It actually will go south of there somewhat. Bucaramanga is close, but it isn't really actively affected. That's the richest city in Colombia, and they kind of keep their distance. But that's primarily ELN country, which is, they have a name, but they're a criminal group, and they control a lot of the local mayors. Now, these are small places. It might be 200 population or whatever. These groups make their home in very rural, sparsely populated areas. Cucuta is kind of an exception. It wasn't that long ago that they weren't really in there, but just a little bit. But with everything that happened with the waves of Venezuelans and massive people, and it was just too easy to come in and create things. And plus, it's right there on the border, so you commit a crime, you jump across the border, come back when the heat's off, So there was a lot of that going on. That was where the presidential helicopter with Duque, they wouldn't do this with Petro because he's one of their boys, but with Duque, he flew in on a presidential helicopter and took gunfire.
Yeah, there were people on the ground shooting at him.
Yep. Now, if you go to the right, you got kind of a crooked line there, and that's south of Cartagena, and that's in the area that goes across to Panama. That's kind of a deadly area, but you have a lot of crime operating there. First, you have the Gulf cartel in that area, but you have multiple cartels out of Mexico that are running what do you call it? People operations, running them up north to get into the United States. The going rate's a couple $1,000s. You can work it off when you get to the U.S., or they'll take your daughter or whatever. I mean, it's a mess. Now, if you move south of there, you'll see Cali, and just to the south and west of Cali, that's Cauca area, and that's primarily FARC crime group, indigenous crime group, and there's just a large organized crime group. So you have three groups there that don't fight each other. They all work in cooperation. And then if you move down to the Ecuador border, again, it's sparsely populated area. That's primarily FARC and Mexican cartel area. People actively notice, if you weren't paying attention, you couldn't help but notice about 5 or 6 years ago when the police station right across the border in Ecuador got bombed. And all of a sudden that got everybody's attention. And at first they said it was all Colombian, then they find out it was a Mexican cartel. But the Colombian crime groups they're all working together. You also have Ecuador crime groups. They're all part of it. A lot of them exist in the prisons there in Ecuador, because they have more free activity in the prison than if they were out of the prison. That's bizarre, but they're not going to be arrested. They do it, but they're anonymous in the prison. Outside, they can get found and caught and shot and whatever. Okay, so that's that. Let me put that back up again. Let's see. You don't need to go into depth today, but is there anywhere in Colombia they do freshwater sport fishing like bass or trout like in the U.S. or Chile? I know there's great saltwater fishing. There is fishing here. I'm not into it. I used to like to fish, but I'm not really into it. But I'll see occasionally, if you go into a sports hardware shop, you'll see fishing poles and lures. There's so many rivers here that trout is a huge thing. It's like one of the main dishes in Quindio, but in this area of Colombia in general, trout is massive. So you can catch trout in almost any stream and river here. So it is here. It does exist. I don't really have information on it because I've never bothered to check. But, you put a little effort in it, you'll find out. Or hook up with, people that I've done videos on that do some of these rustic tours. They would know. Sebastian, how you doing? I want to see Lauren go. Yeah. No, you don't. Mao Gonzo. Police officers do a great job. They're not the problem. The issue is corrupt justice system and weak judges that free criminals all the time, claiming no room in jail. Depending on where you are, there is some truth to that. I don't really see that here in Quindio. But there are places in Colombia, like Medellin, where there's a lot of truth to that. I'm pretty proud of most of the system here. There is some corruption. The primary corruption you're going to run into is occasionally maybe a judge, but I don't know. And I only say that because I've seen a couple articles where a few judges have been accused. I know in one case he was cleared, the other one I'm not sure, but something went there, but I can't speak to it. But I can speak directly to the transito. Now, the transito are the traffic cops. They're not like the National Police. National Police, they have very high standards. They have massive training. It's very similar to a military training. They're professionals. The transito, you can have a high school diploma. You can kind of, it's like, well, they're shorthanded. Well, let me go fill in. And, they're not necessarily always in uniform. They'll wear that green transito vest, but a lot of times they'll have jeans or some t-shirt on or something. They're not that professional. I don't think they get that much training. I got stopped one time by a guy who was probably older than me, with the transito. And they're the ones that will try to. Now, I will say that the 3 times I've been caught, there was something that technically could have gotten a ticket for. And if you get a ticket, then you're going to have to pay a fine. And in all 3 cases, they charged me less than what that fine would be. However, they were so nitpicky, so questionable. I never in the past that I've been caught up on that. That's a different kind of corruption. Technically, they're not wrong. On the other hand, they only did it because they decided, well, one of them told me, I said, why did you decide to choose me? Because it's happened twice, because of your car. It's a very nice car. It's a 2010, but the impression is because it's a big car and it's got tinted windows.
Unusual.
And large vehicles like that are expensive vehicles. So they just assumed that I had a lot of money. It wasn't that I was a gringo because you can't even see, when the windows are up, you can't even see who's in it. So they pull me over. Then they learned that it's me, but they pulled me over. So this guy was pretty honest about it. He was actually helpful. Once I gave him his fine, I was actually turned around in a neighborhood. I was kind of like, where am I? And he said, follow me. And he took me in and out and around part of where I had been and how I got lost. And then he got to the main road and he pointed, I knew where I was then. This was in Pereira. And so he was actually very helpful.
Paid fee for service.
Yeah, exactly. So, so that part was kind of okay. But that's in this area, that's where I've seen corruption firsthand. It's like, I have the authority to pull somebody over, and if I can spot something that technically could be finable, now I have a chance to put this money in my pocket. Because it's not supposed to be, they're not there to collect fines. They're there to write a ticket for it. and then you go through the court system. Well, you don't go through the court system. I'm sure that that's going to a nice dinner with his wife, and it's not going to get sent off to the judge. So, but with the national police and the military, maybe someday something will happen, they'll change it, but I have a lot of faith and respect in them. I've watched them for years now, the way they operate and the way they've treated me and seen them treat other people. And I just, some of the best I've ever run into in any country. You know, it's when all those riots were going on, I crossed over from Ecuador into Colombia, and they had all the riot police. I talked about that. I had these ragtag Ecuadorian police that looked like they just come out of a rummage, sale. And then you had but they were miserable. They were standing there, and they were just miserable people. And you get to the Colombian side of the bridge. This was at Ipiales. You get to the Colombian side of the bridge, and you had this row of all dressed exactly the same, sharp uniforms. They all got their automatic rifles slung down in the exact same angle. They all got their helmets on. And I mean, they looked like they just stepped off a parade deck. But as I walked up to them, they start waving and smiling. There was nobody ahead of me and behind, but they were greeting people as they came in with smiles. They weren't harassing anybody, or they were just, hey, how you doing? And, like that. That was freaking awesome.
Yeah.
In the Ecuador, I mean, they were so miserable. You'd think that somebody put, red pepper in their underwear or something, It's, anyway. What do you want to talk about? Darien Gap.
Well, the Darien Gap, when you showed those hot spots, they are literally taking people through the Darien Gap, which is a very dangerous proposition.
Yeah. People die every day going through there. And there's no medical help available.
There's no help of any kind available.
Of any kind, yeah. And the people that are taking you through, they're not going to stop for you. They're just going to leave you to the side of the trail. It's a horrible situation. Opening the border has caused the death of tens of thousands of people and of rape and trafficking before they ever even get to the border. If they get to the border, it's just terrible. I've read some Colombian articles here about things that have gone on there, and it's just revolting. And it's all because people are being told certain things, and they're trying to get up to the border before it gets closed down. Well, you're going to get all this. You're going to get a free apartment. You're going to get a free car. You're going to get free food, and you're going to get handed citizenship. I've seen some of the flyers where these things that they have flyers handed out all over South America, probably, but all over Colombia. And I've seen a couple of these flyers where they make it sound like all I have to do is just go. You don't have the money? Don't worry. When you get there, you're going to have a good job. You'll be able to pay us back. Yeah. It becomes their job, and you become slave labor.
Yeah.
It's just horrible. Hi, Lauren. I'm from Istanbul. Go Bills. Yeah, the Bills, 1:00 today. I'm excited, worried. I've been too many roller coasters.
They've got fans all over the world rooting for them. So
that's true. Okay. Time is it? We're almost out of time. I'm going to bring up this one article because it just kind of hit home. It was in a Facebook page, Expats in Cuenca. I used to be in that page. And I mentioned a few weeks ago about these people kind of get involved and entrenched, and they create these cliques, and they start trying to judge other people. And so I ran into this one. It just got my goat. I just banned a man from the group. He used Messenger to send a hate message to another member. I have no idea why. So he doesn't know because he didn't ask the person. He didn't know anything about the background of this. He just made that assumption. Why did he make the assumption? Because the person ratted on this other person and told whatever story. Could be true, could be false. He doesn't know, he didn't check. But look at his response to, I won't go into the comment above, doesn't really matter, but he responded with some interesting things. Nothing to do with Ecuador. An expat made a remark to another expat person. I would classify it under the hate crime label. This is a crime. He posted a messenger, a message,
Yeah.
and it constitutes a crime. I don't know why he didn't call the police and just turn the guy in. Most of our universe here, that's in Cuenca, Ecuador, is relaxed and liberal. Yes, it's politics. We love it. What was appalling about this was that the person sent it in Messenger. So there was a definite intent to harm.
Harming with words.
And I will save you the tediousness of it, but I went down and I read through a lot of the comments to that, and it was, it's like, if we could hang them, we would, and thank you for saving us, thank you for keeping us safe. I mean, these
the
people
crime.
are nuts.
From the crime of free speech.
Well, there's that. Yeah, there's that. But it's so far even beyond that. It's like, we just don't like you. Therefore, you're evil and you're a criminal. And when I lived there, I saw that. That's why I mentioned a few weeks ago, I went to a couple of these things, and these cliques were already well established. And that's not for me. These people are scumbags. But I had friends who would be part of those groups just for the connection, for the social connection. And I had several that actually were hurt because they were turned on, because they wouldn't be involved in everything that was going on. They would just go and hang out and be social. Well, that apparently wasn't enough. And so if you're not all in, then you're all out.
Yeah.
And so those connections they made were cut off for no reason. These are nice people. So I stayed away from it. And I know Turtle got involved in this kind of stuff. So, not him, but I remember before he moved to Colombia, his name coming up in a number of Facebook posts, and it's like, this stuff is crazy. And I hope it's not beginning here,
Yeah.
Because it's disgusting. It's like everybody's adults. What somebody's doing is none of your business. What that guy wrote was none of his business. He said himself it wasn't on the Facebook page that he was admin of. It was in Messenger. Well, that person, if they didn't like it, all they had to do is click block. End of story. But no, let's create all this drama and let's hurt the person. Let's attack the person. Let's make sure everybody ostracizes this person. For what reason? Who knows? Who knows what reason? You don't have to know. Maybe he mentioned the border or something that triggered somebody because they think everything in terms of politics in that particular group.
The lesson there to me is don't make other expats your entire social life.
Yeah. Well, it's like I got a message from an actual friend, and he says, I don't blame you for withdrawing from everything, but let me know. It's not that. I've been really busy the last few weeks. I went to Buena Vista recently, by the way, but I've been really busy and just it's not a priority for me. I won't go to the coffee meetings, but there's a couple people, and I told him, I said, no, we'll get together, soon. He's a great guy. Anyway, so my advice to you guys is just beware of that kind of stuff. Don't get involved in it, and God forbid, quit trying to control people's lives. It's their lives to live.
It's kind of interesting. During the plague, my wife and I were forced to be together 24/7. And that's kind of become the only relationship that really matters seriously to me.
Yeah. It's I'm kind of in the same. There's a few people in this world that matter to me, and everybody else. It's not that I dislike or whatever, but I have no desire to have a Thanksgiving dinner and have as many people over as I can get. That actually is the exact opposite of how I am. And I'm fine with people that do that. It's like, yeah, go for it. But it's just not me. I get in a crowd, and it doesn't have to be huge, 15, 20 people. After about 15, 20 minutes, I start getting really anxious to the point where I feel like I have the flight feeling where I have to escape, I don't know what it is. I've had it for much of my life. That's why, I crack the joke. I'm antisocial. I'm not really. I just like 1, 2, 3 people. That's plenty. And only now and then.
Yeah.
All right. It's called virtue signaling. Oh, yeah, there's lots of that. I was trying to think of that. I was coming up with all these different phrases. What is that? What is that word? It's like, I know that exists. I see it on the news and all that stuff, but it's not our daily life. And I couldn't remember what that was. It was easy to find Sharik and PayPal and donate. Awesome. Thank you. Darien Gap may become less accessible on January 20th. Well, it'll become accessible. It'll just be wasted trips. But I think people all over South America are keenly aware of the politics in the United States.
Well, yeah, a lot of them are playing beat the clock right now.
Exactly. And they know that when that day comes, all bets are off. You're going to see it dry up simply because who wants to make that trip and commit to that kind of money if you're just going to get turned around?
Yeah.
Which is the way it always should have been. It should never have gone on and announced that we have an open border. It was crazy. All right, we've run the gamut. Do you have any? He came in without a topic.
I did.
So it's on him.
I'm always happy to answer questions or contribute, however. But if we don't have any questions.
Yeah, last call for questions, and then I'll throw him out, and I'll maybe cook up some chicken wings and get ready for the Bills game.
Walk carefully. You may still have wet floors.
Yeah. All right. Well, no further questions. I got a fair amount of comments today. I'm glad to see the comments returning. Yuka, thank you for the contribution. Anybody that contributed to Sharik Coffee. If you don't get the WhatsApp group, because I don't know how that works, and they're just kind of throwing it together. Feel free to email me, and I'll get the information for whatever that WhatsApp group is. So if you contribute, and you want to get in that WhatsApp group where you can get the progress, I'll probably go in it and just grab some of the pictures and post up once in a while so you can see what's going on. Go Packers. Yeah. I don't dislike the Packers. Yeah, I kind of like them.
Unless they're playing the Bills. Right?
The interesting thing about Packers is it seems like they've had the same quarterback for decades. Brett Favre,
mm-hmm.
and what's his name? One of the best in history. Does the psychedelics and man.
I gave up following football.
And then you got what's his name, Jordan. They all look like they're throwing the same pass.
Yeah.
They have this unique passing movement. It's like they keep their hand up here and their arm. It's all in their lower waist, and their arm actually just goes zip. I mean, it's like a fraction of a second. It's all in their body and almost no arm movement. All three of them have the same kind of move. Well, it makes sense because
there's apparently a best way to do it.
well, they all watched they watched Brett Favre and then
Yeah.
what's his name? He went to the Jets, and I can't believe I have these brain crunches. I'm getting senile. And then Jordan watched him. Anyway, Aaron Rodgers, thank you. Oh my God.
I'm glad to know I'm not the
What
only
the
one.
hell? Insurance premium cost on average. I have no idea. I know what mine is, but you can't have what I have. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to do an update on insurance because there's so much up in the air and there's so many, it depends, that the likelihood of the information that I gather being accurate in your situation, not very high, in which case there's no point in me doing it. I also think that at some point in the next year or so that it's all going to get reverted back to what it actually says in the regulation. But
I hope so.
there's some politics going on here. People who hate Packers are Vikings fans. I don't hate the Packers. I don't hate the Vikings. I'm kind of I appreciate what the Vikings did this year, considering they've been so bad for so long. That's kind of cool. Packers, I appreciate them because they're such a small market. Reminds me of it's like Buffalo, So so that's cool. All right, and the Jets, man, they suck.
I'm fairly football free because I stopped following American football 7 years ago,
It's the only kind.
and soccer bores me to tears.
Soccer, I can't. I would rather watch paint dry. All right. We'll end it here. That's the end of it. I will see you next week. Send me emails, suggestions, topics, but nothing legal and nothing on healthcare, at least at the moment. Ciao.
Bye.